What's going on YouTube? This is IPSec. I'm doing a bucket from HackTheBox, and this has to be one of my favorite machines because of just how unique it is on the platform. And after doing the machine, it's one of those things like, wow, why hasn't this been done before? Because everyone hears about how like S3 bucket permissions are bad and how a bunch of data gets leaked through S3 buckets or random databases in AWS, but HackTheBox never could do that because it's all like on-premise, it doesn't use the cloud, etc., etc. However, there is an application called LocalStack apparently, which allows you to replicate AWS on your local infrastructure, so you don't have to go to the cloud and take those monthly charges to go experiment with like the AWS CLI. So in this box, we're going to go and access a S3 bucket, put a reverse shell up on a website, grab it down, and then access DynamoDB to take a bunch of information from a database, log in with the user, and do just a bunch of fun stuff. So with that being said, let's jump in. As always, we're going to start off with an nmap, so -sc for default scripts, sv enumerate versions, oa output all formats, put in the nmap directory and call it bucket, and then the IP address of 10.10.10.2.12. This can take some time to run, so I've already ran it. Looking at the results, we have just two ports open, the first one being SSH on port 22, and its banner tells us it's an Ubuntu server. We also have HTTP on port 80, and its banner tells us it's Apache running on a Ubuntu server. We also have the HTTP-title script from nmap running, telling us the hostname is bucket.htb. We can just go over to the page and go 10.10.10.2.12 and see what we get. It looks like it redirects us right to bucket.htb. So let's go and edit our host file to add that. So sudo vi etc host, and then we'll add 10.10.10.2.12 bucket.htb. And then we can hopefully hit this page. Looks like we can. And I'm going to do something a little bit different. I don't know if this is going to be beneficial. I'm just going to do a full nmap on this box. So sudo nmap -p-, and then we can say 10.10.10.2.12, and then output all formats, and to nmap all ports. So we'll just see if that's beneficial. So going to this page right off the bat, we just see bucket advertising platform, and then bug bounty search, clicking on feeds, about, nothing happens. So the very first thing I want to do is know exactly what this is running. So I'm going to try index.php, we get a not found, try index.html, and we get bucket advertising platform. So I'm going to go over into GoBuster and then just start a quick GoBust. So I'm going to do GoBuster, directory mode, URL http bucket.htb, and then word list. I'm going to be doing opt seclist, then discovery, web content, raft small words. Once I get there, .text, and I'm also going to specify the extension HTML because that's the extension we know right now. And out file will say GoBuster.out. This will just be your standard one. We may want to actually not use GoBuster.out and say bucket.htb GoBuster- there we go. That's a better out file. So now that's running, let's go take a look at the page. We could open this up in Burp Suite or view the source code to see if there's like WordPress or anything. But one of the underrated tools I think of Firefox or just web browsing in general is like this developers console, because there's a lot of cool information you can get from this. So if I just reload the page, we can see every network request that goes, and it's making a request to s3.bucket.htb. So I'm going to go and edit the host file to add that. And to note, I did this all ports and it didn't find any extra ports. So something I always do out of habit, I just normally don't show in my videos. But let's do sudo vi etc host. And let's add s3.bucket.htb, save this, and then let's go to this. So s3bucket.htb, and we just get status running. We can go back into the developer console, and if I do reload, we could see what happens, and this is weird. It's telling us it's a 404, but we get status running. We can view the headers and the response headers, and we can see a bunch of like AMZ stuff, which is Amazon. And this is when my like head started turning. I'm like, wait, we have Amazon and HackTheBox, because HackTheBox generally is not cloud-based. So I'm going to do a curl -- headers on s3.bucket.htb to kind of confirm what I'm seeing. And I think it's just header. Is it head? There we go. It's just head. So we see the 404 and then a bunch of Amazon stuff. So what I'm going to do is kill this GoBuster because I don't think I need it. I'm going to change it up and go with S3. So we're going to do S3 bucket.htb. We can get rid of this HTML extension because we just want to see what other directories are out there. So there we go. That is running. And meanwhile, we could Google like how to use AWS, but I'm just going to say I know how to do it. And we're going to install AWS on an instance. So I'm going to do a sudo apt install AWS CLI, then do yes. And we're going to try connecting the AWS command line binary to this bucket. So once this starts or installs, we can run the command. And if you don't know any of this, you can Google AWS CLI documentation probably, and it'll get, this AWS CLI. So this is essentially what we're going to be going to. And I think the command line reference is generally easier to read than the full out documentation. But going to pause the video, let this finish. Now that the AWS binary is installed, we should be able to use it. So I'm going to do AWS and do --endpoint-url. And we're going to say s3.bucket.htb. I don't know if I need HTTP or not, but the command I'm going to use is s3, and I just want to do a ls. So I do this, and endpoint must be in the form of HTTP. So I'm wrong there. Let's do that. And see what errors. It says unable to locate credentials. You can configure credentials by running AWS configure. So I'm going to run AWS configure, and I don't know an access key. If I just do none for everything, region, I'm just going to put US East 1. I don't know if this is needed or not, but I mean, that's the region of all AWS. So let's see if this works with just a blank configuration. And it says no. So let's try this again, and I'm just going to put things that don't matter. So like, please subscribe does not exist. LOL does not exist. And we'll just leave it at US East 1 and try it again. And the reason why I think this works is because this endpoint actually isn't AWS. It is local stack. If you go local stack, it's running AWS on your own box to kind of play with it so you don't have to spin up a instance and take a bunch of licensing fees. But I don't think it has like IAM. It's like the way AWS does permissions, everything fully implemented. So as long as you provided a key and secret key, it just accepts you. So I think it's just a thing of local stack not being fully configured. But we have S3 now. And if this was on like production, I would mainly be looking for a like server-side request forgery inside of Bucket to see if I can make this server make a request to 169.254, 169.254, because this is like some magical API endpoint of Amazon. And when you curl this, you can go into the IAM credentials and pull the security credential from that box and potentially get its secret key and do lateral movement that we're about to do. So I don't think that's going to be a thing here, but something to look into. Maybe if you're curious, Google, let's do AWS pen test 169.254, 169.254 IAM takeover. This may be a good thing. Yeah. Read articles. Well, maybe that one. This Reiner security one is good. So I would read this article if you're interested in what I said. Back to the actual video. Let's go AWS S3 LS now. We can see there is a directory add server. If I go into add server, we can get index.html. So S3 has other commands. So if we do S3 help, we pull up the documentation for this, and I should just maximize this. And you can see it's got like CP, MV, and RM. So let's try putting a web shell here. So let's go copy user share laudanum PHP reverse shell, because this is my favorite PHP reverse shell. I'm going to name it rev.php to make it easier to work with. We'll go into it and delete a bunch of these comments because we don't need them, and then set the IP address. So we are 10.10.14.3, and my port is going to be, of course, 9001. So now we got this. Now we just got to get this cp command working. So I'm going to copy rev.php to add server / rev.php. And it does not work. It wants S3 URI, which means like a URL. So I'm going to try maybe S3:// like that. Does that work? And it does. Sweet. NC LVMP 9001. And we can go over here and see if we can hit rev.php. Where'd that Amazon link come from? Let's go rev.php. And not found. Let's try copying that again. And not found. Maybe we don't put the file name, so just cp rev.php to add server. And there we go. Connection refused. That's what I wanted. So I guess destination, we do not put file name. Wonder what that was doing. Let's see. Can we do an ls real quick? Where's ls? Because I'm always curious. I don't know what that did. I was thinking maybe it created a directory rev.php, but doesn't look like it does. So let's do netcat, launch this, got a rev shell. And holy cow, we forgot to do a bunch of documentation. So let's go new note. We'll do 00 enumeration and actually 05 enumeration. And we can say nmap, and then we'll do bash, and then let's cat nmap. So cat nmap bucket xclip selection clipboard. I know some people don't want to do these notes as we go, but you can always just use the timestamps below to skip. So important notes, Ubuntu and host name leak and title. Okay, enumeration's done. And I'm actually going to use this at the end to do 00 magic. So that's a note for me to do something later. So let's do 10. We can say bucket.htb. And then if we go to bucket.htb, sweet. Well, it's cached. Shoot. If I reload, it's going to show, right? You blocked it. Oh, well, that's fine. I'm going to do print screen. And then this is going to be Flameshot that I have synced up. So we can copy this. We can highlight this and say S3 is used. Sure. Copy. Control C to copy. I don't know why that's not copying. Control C. Let's see. There's one of these that is copied to clipboard. This. There we go. Normally Control C copies. I'm not sure what was going on there. Web page, pasted image, Control E. That looks good. And say, let's see. S3 URL leaked. And then the next thing we do is our S3 enum. So 15 S3 enum. Okay, so we can just do S3 bucket HTB, and then we want to paste some commands we did. So while we have it, we can do this. So first ls, and then fake creds. Then we can paste it. This is taking longer than I expected, but oh well. Copy. Okay, do bash. Work because local stack. And I put the question mark there as if I'm writing the report and before I hand it to a client, I want to validate the statement. That's my assumption. So we can do ls, and we now can view it. Then the last thing we did was copy to show we copied it. Proof. We did an ls again. Right here. Copy. Paste. There we go. Hopefully that wasn't too painful, but now we have some nice notes. If we look, we get stuff. Okay. So let's see. The next thing we need to do is fool around on the server. So we have a shell. We can do a TTY trick. So Python 3-c input pty .spawn bin bash. Then stty raw minus echo. Well, control Z to background it. stty raw minus echo. fg enter enter. You won't see the keys, but it'll work. Export term is equal to x term, and now I can clear the screen. So now we have a low priv shell on this box. If we looked at this GoBuster output, let's do GoBuster -s3. We can grep-v 403 to see if there's any other things. I don't see anything, so we can just close that out. And we can close that out. So let's go enumerate this box. Right off the bat, I want to check if we're in some type of Docker environment. So I'm going to do a ls/la on / to see if I see a .dockerm file, and I don't. But I do see this AWS directory, which piqued my interest. So I'm going to do a ls/la on that. And we see there is credentials, and it does have a file size of 64. So I know that file is not blank, but unfortunately it is owned by root and only readable by root. So we can't read that. I am going to put this as a note though, because maybe there is a challenge later where we have to do some type of lateral movement, and these credentials would certainly potentially allow for that. So let's just copy this and then go over here. I'm going to do a new note, 100 future things. And we're going to say AWS creds bash. I'm going to say need root for this. So we got that. We can go back into /, and the next thing I'd probably check for is like IP-ADDR just to see what the interfaces look like. I can see ENS 160, so I don't believe I'm inside some type of virtual environment. I do see Docker, which is weird. I'm used to breaking out of a Docker, but seeing me being on the host and there being a Docker, I may have to actually break into a Docker, which is unique. So to enumerate this Docker a little bit, I'm going to do a SSLNTP to see if there's any type of port forwards. We did the full nmap scan and it only showed 80 and 22, but we have a few other ports listening. We have 8,000, 35,167, and 4566. I'm going to go into Etsy Apache and we can do sites enabled, and there's only one site enabled, but I'm going to grep for 4566 on the default config, and we do see it being in here. We can also check for 3516. I was just too lazy to type the 7 there, but that's not in there. And then 8000. So what is this? If we're a root, we could get the PID, so it becomes really easy to see. Let's see. And then this can be unknown socket. And hopefully at the end of the video, I go back and actually look at this and we see everything. So paste that and we can snip. There we go. So we definitely should look at that at the end of the video, but we know there is Apache configs for both 4566 and 8000. So what I'm going to do is less this 000 default config, and we can print this out. We can actually just log this. So copy, go to Obsidian. We can say 20 shell as www data and do that. Maybe there's an Apache thing, I don't know. Apache virtual host. And let's see, the important things. 8000 is running this, which means it's running as root. So port 8000 equals running as root. Port 80, this is bucket. And we don't have the full config because we don't have, okay, it still goes. Let's see, let's cat 00 default, grep-v, anything with a comment, and then grep period. There we go. That's better. So let's see, we probably should fix up our TTY. So if I go into a new pane, STTY-A, I have 34 rows and 136 columns. And the reason why I'm doing this is because something gets chopped off and I was typing like all the way back here. Yeah, you can see how ugly that is. So I can just do STTY rows, was it 34? And columns 136. 136. So now when I do this command, I can go all the way to the end and it behaves just fine. So now we have the full virtual host. So we can copy this and paste it. There we go. We may not. Let's see. Oh, here we go. So virtual host on 80, and it's saying this one, let's see. Okay. If the server name is s3.bucket.htb, send it to localhost 4566, and this is Docker. So 4566 equals Docker. Just notes for me. And yeah, so that's how that's running. So this is local stack. So there's no enumeration for me to know this is local stack, but I just know this is local stack. We may be able to do like a find slash grep local stack. And we probably want to do a to dev null. Maybe there's something we can do to enumerate it, and probably grep-i just in case it's a capital L or S or something. And nothing's found. So I don't know how you know that's local stack other than just knowing there's an application called local stack which lets you host AWS locally. But we can either run DynamoDB commands from here and point it to 4566, or we can go over to this pane and just run the AWS endpoint URL http s3.bucket.htb, knowing this goes to port 4566 on the host. And instead of doing S3, we're going to do DynamoDB. We can do help. And this will tell us all the things we can do with DynamoDB. The key thing when you want to look at databases is always listing the tables, and scan we're going to use in a little bit. So we can also like put items in the database, do queries, things like that. But in order to enumerate the database, you need to know what tables there are. So we can do list tables, and we see there's one table called users. So we can do scan. I think if we do help here, it tells us how to use scan. And there's a -- table name. So we can do scan -- table name users. and we get stuff. We could just copy this whole output if we wanted to. I guess we will, but I'm going to simplify it and get just credentials. So let's see, this is shell as www data. And then we can do 25 dumping Dynamo. And let's do that. Bash dumping Dynamo DB. And let's go and make this a bit more pretty, because we have like username mgmt, the password of this. This means string. We'll probably go into this in a little bit, but we just see username credential, username credential. I just want to get all this. And since it's only 3, we could easily copy and paste, but chances are when you're doing DynamoDB dumps, you have a lot of data to work with. So copy and paste isn't really going to be your friend. This is all JSON. So we can use our favorite tool, JQ. So if I just do JQ period, you can see it's now color. So it just parsed this. So we can do a little bit of JQ foo to get just the information we want. So let's do this dot, and we want to grab everything in items. And the reason why we want to grab everything in items is because items is top level. So we do dot items, and if we want to like get rid of these brackets, we just do this. So now we're just grabbing all the passwords and usernames. Now we could do dot password and grab all the passwords. And I think if we do this, we just display passwords. But we want to grab 2 things at once. So JQ actually lets you do pipes, and this is going to get confusing because we do a pipe within a pipe. So we're going to do JQ, put a single quote here, so everything within these quotes is going to be processed by JQ. I'm going to do pipe, and we're going to do dot username, and then dot password, and then and that. So this is our pipe within JQ, and then a single quote. Awesome. So we have a bunch of escapes, and if we want to get rid of those escapes, we go back to the JQ command and do raw. And we have this. And remember, if we want to get rid of the JSON, we put the open and close square brackets next to this. And now we just have straight creds. Pretty awesome. So let's go copy, and we should rename OO magic to like O2 magic. That's just a note for me to do something later that I think you guys will like. Let's do OO creds. And let's do this. And we can do user password. Like that. And I guess we could have used sed to do this. There we go. So now it's formatted pretty. You can do like sed, things like that to do that parsing. I trust you can do that. The JQ stuff was a bit tough. Like, all I'm saying is pipe this to sed and say single quote is now a pipe. Right? Yeah. There we go. That's all I was saying. But we got those creds. We probably should log this. And I'm going to go back here. We go to dumping DynamoDB, and we can say making it pretty, and have that for our logs, because, I mean, that looks cool. Do that, and yeah. So again, this is going to look complicated. Here's the command. Here's a pipe to JQ. Because this pipe is in these quotes, the pipe applies to JQ, not the whole command. Bit confusing, but yeah. Syntax for this command is not the greatest, but JQ itself is amazing. So now we have a bunch of creds. I'm not sure exactly what they go to, but hey, we got creds. You never say no to free credentials. So let's go back to the shell to see exactly how we can use these creds. So looking at the shell, I'm in this Apache directory, which reminds me, we took notes of something, the shell as www. There was this virtual host that we probably should look more at, var www bucket app, because this user is root. I kind of went on this like local stack tangent because I got excited about that. But I mean, this virtual host is running as root. We should probably check that. So number one thing to privask is look for things running as root and exploit them. So let's go into var dub and go into bucket app. We get permission denied. But it has a plus next to it. So it's owned by root, user and group, and only root can read and write, but it has a plus. And the plus means like extended permission. So I'm going to do lsattr on bucket app to list attributes. Don't have anything. I'll try getfacl, which is getfile ACL on bucket app. And we can see the user Roy can read it. So this getfile ACL is something that's been around for like probably 15 years, maybe even longer on Linux. But it's a way to now allow other users access to the file. Most people know like here's user, here's group, here's other or not that. But there is the extended attributes that allow you to specify other users. So even though it's owned by the root and group, even though it's owned by user and group of root, and only that can read it, the extended one is giving it to Roy. I spent a while talking about that when it's super simple, but hopefully it helps you. We have to get to Roy. So I'm going to cat etc passwd and look at all the users on this box. I'm just going to grep for bash. Let's see. And we see only root and Roy have bash. So I'm going to be lazy and we're just going to go to our creds and we're going to try each of these creds for Roy to look for some type of password reuse. So su Roy, paste that password. We'll copy the next one while we wait for it to go. Authentication failed. We want to do Roy. And then the last one, we have this, which is sysadmin. Paste the password and we get in. I'm going to try doing a SSH. So SSH Roy at 10.10.10.212. Accept the fingerprint, put this password in, and we get in. The reason why I try SU before SSH is because it's just more likely to work. Roy can be denied SSH access, which then the credential just doesn't work for us. It's much more rare to find SU is blocked for a user. If you're curious why I do this dash, because when I do dash, it's going to take the new environment of Roy. Let's go out. You see when I did this, I went into Roy at bucket. If I take that away, it's probably going to be staying at wherever I am in var dub. I need to copy this again. So su Roy. Yeah, so it didn't redo my environment variables and put me in a new directory. So like, let's see. I still have all of Apache's environment variables, I believe. Shell, bin bash, pwd, log name. Not all of environment variables, but it's just cleaner to do a dash when you switch users. I don't know a good way to explain it. You can probably read the comments for someone telling me I'm wrong. But when I switch users, I like my dash. So now that we're Roy, we can go into var dub bucket app and take a look at this. So there is a index.php and this pd4ml demo jar. So we got some type of Java going on. If I did ps-ef, what do we see? There is a sleep here. We may want to run like, shoot. Yeah, there we go. May want to run GoSpy to see if we can figure out what this is. There is a restore.sh also running, so I'm guessing sleep is probably related to restoring it every minute. Let's see. Can we just cat root restore.sh? No. Okay. So we got DynamoDB here, so that was another hint that that's running. It's doing tail on local stack stuff. So there we go. That's how we would find out that local stack is running. If you look at PS or look in the temp directory, you have local stack stuff. So, see, we also have the Docker. So instead of doing the SSLNTP, I could have just looked at what's running, and we see Docker proxies localhost 4566. So that would have told us that as well, instead of going through Apache. The amazing things you learn when you just take some time and poke at the system. So I forget what I looked at PS for, but we got a bunch of good information. Let's look at index.php. And I probably should do this in VI so we have syntax highlighting. There we go. Go to the top. So to go over this, I think Flameshot's going to be really handy. So I'm going to use it to take a screenshot of this code, and then we can draw out the logic. So the very first thing I want to do is highlight the first action I see here. And red's probably not a good color. So let's go to tool settings. What color is not really used? I guess this green may stand out more. That does not stand. How do I get? Okay. There we go. So that stands out a bit more, I think. So we can do this. And then I can click on this auto incrementing bubble and say 1. And then we'll do text. And I'm going to say right here, if post action equals get alerts. There we go. And then let's see. This is all setting up the DynamoDB interface. That's not too interesting to us. We have table name alerts. So this is going to, we want this. And I want to make, I'm holding the control and using my mouse wheel to change the heaviness of this. So you can look in the top left as I scroll up and down. So here we can put a big old 2 and then put the text. This will be let's see, use alerts table. It's going to take the title, so poll title, and if title equals ransomware. And then it's going to go down here and we'll say right here, put 3. Let's see, we can say, where's my cursor? There we go. Put data into HTML file. And then this right here, it's doing pass through, doing PD4ML, and it's grabbing the file that we just put and putting it in result.pdf. So we can highlight this entire thing and then put the last one 4. And we can say, we have to update that and go to text. Let's see. Text. Then convert HTML to PDF using PD4ML. Okay, so we got 4 things here, and that's pretty cool for a screenshot. We can copy this to a clipboard, and then go to Obsidian, dumping DynamoDB. This will be 30, and we'll call this, well, 30 is Roy. We need to gain access. And then the next thing we need to do is say what this is. Port 8000. Bam. And we gained access via password reuse in DynamoDB, the sysadmin user. Do this, Roy. There we go. And service. There we go. I'm not sure why that's different, but when I go in edit mode, it looks fine. So there we go. And we have a nice screenshot on this explaining everything we did. So now we have to go exploit this. So we're going to have to create the alerts table probably, because when I did a ls with S3, when I did a list tables with DynamoDB, it only showed me a users table. So we probably have to create alert and then create something with a title and saying ransomware is in the title, and then putting some data that PD4ML will use. If we look at PD4ML, let's see, PD4ML, HTML to PDF converter. Let's see, what is like documentation of this? There is a tag in here to attach files. So PD4ML attach file. Whenever you do like these conversions, you should look for how to attach things. So we can see here, we have a way to attach a file to a PDF. And what we're going to try to do is attach a like Etsy passwd inside a PDF that's generated and see if it works. So let's do that. So going here, we will have to access port 8000. So I'm going to go back to NC. I'm going to kill this. This is my netcat sessions. We don't need this anymore. So I can kill this because we have SSH. I'm going to do the very first thing on a line. If you do Control-C, you enter the Konami code for SSH, which puts you in a little shell where you can do port forwards. You can also do it on the command line when you do SSH. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the reddish video is where I do most of my forwarding talk in. So I'm going to do that. Well, enter that. Now I'm in this SSH mode. -L. I'm going to say listen on port 8000, forward it through this SSH session, and the endpoint will be 127.0.0.1 8000. So now if I curl localhost port 8000, we go through SSH and get this. And I don't know what this is. Some type of joke. Localhost 8000, and just says the bucket application is not ready yet. But we looked at the source for this already, and we know essentially what we have to do. So let's do that. Unfortunately, I am human and don't know all the syntax to do this off the top of my head. So I'm going to go over to Google and type DynamoDB create table AWS CLI. And we get this create table thing. And I'm going to go and look for examples. And we have something. Awesome. I'm going to grab this. And we'll say new note 35 create table, or we'll say exploit port 8000. So we got this, and we don't know exactly what all this does, but we know we need this create table command. We also probably want --endpoint URL, because we're not using Amazon's S3, we're using our own. So we add that. We got DynamoDB create table. Then table name, we want alerts. Attribute definitions. Let's see, we wanted title, I believe. So we can do attribute definitions, attribute name, title, attribute type, S for string. And I don't think we need anything else. We may need, no, we probably don't. I was thinking maybe data, but let's try this. Let's just keep going. Key schema. So let's see, attribute name. I'm going to go with title, key type, hash. Don't know what this is. Okay. Provision throughput, read capacity, units 5, write capacity 5. This is just like how active or like throughput limits on this S3 bucket, I guess. I'm not an AWS expert by any means. And I think we can get rid of tags. We don't need any tags. So let's try this. see what errors out. If it gives an error message, that will be amazing. If it doesn't and it works, that would be even more amazing. Okay, so let's see. The following arguments are required: attribute definitions, table name, and key schema. I thought we put those. I guess we want it all on one line. But I don't want it on one line because I like this for documentation. Maybe we only do 1/. I know you can do commands over multiple lines. There we go. It didn't error. Let's just list tables real quick. So let's do DynamoDB. What is it? List table? List tables? There we go. So we have alerts. So now we got to put something into alerts. So I'm going to v ransomware.json, and we need to create something. So the title, and this is going to be a string, and it's going to be ransomware, right? Because if we go back to Roy, this image, this is where we are. So we need the title to be this. And then we create data for this object or whatever it's called. So we go like this, and then we can do data, and then that's going to be its own thing. So S, and then this is where we create our HTML. So HTML, PD4ML, what is it? Right here. Let's see, what do we want? Attached, pushpin. This is probably fine. So we can grab this. Another way you may be able to do this is with like iframes and linking pages. Not positive. But we can change this to be file, and let's just try a file we know exists, etc passwd, and then we can grab this. Now there is one issue right now, and we have double quotes. We want to put these all as single quotes, so let's do that. Description. I know this like coloring is god awful right now, but hopefully it's fine. Like that. And then we can end it. Sweet. We have to close this one. So this JSON looks fine. Let's try putting it. So we can do AWS endpoint, and then it's put item -- table name or alerts, then item file : //ransomware.json. Let's see, no such file. File : //. I think 3 went to my root. Non-existent table. So let's create the table again. Put this here. And then we need to, let's see, go back to Roy. We need to do a post with a action is equal to get alerts. So curl -X post -D action equals get _alerts on HTTP 127.0.0.1 port 8000. And maybe -V upload. Okay. So let's go localhost 8000 www bucket. There is a files. So let's go files, and it's empty. But let's see, there may be something clearing something. So let's do a put back real quick. File : //. Maybe it was on this page. Or we can list tables. List tables, and our table's gone. So we have to do this pretty quick. So let's create table, put item, and then curl. and we look at this, we have our HTML that we put in, and we have this PDF. So I'm going to go to the PDF. I'm going to click this attachment to save it. Passwd, that's looking promising. Open file, and we have the passwd. So now this is running as root. And you can see our HTML if we view source. It's not found, so it got deleted again. But this is a Java application. So what we should be able to do is just give it directories. With Java, Java's unique compared to Python and PHP. If you do a fopen on a directory, it'll just do a dir. So that is one unique thing to Java. We create the table. Table's already there. Okay. We got to edit our JSON. So instead of etc passwd, we can go to root. Oh, we could also do .aws/credentials, right? That was it. If we go back here, future things, .aws credentials. See, taking notes is so good. It helps you when it comes to those things. So create, tables created, put, what? That's not what I wanted. This is what I wanted. I don't know what I just ran, but we'll see. Okay. We can go to results.pdf, click this. We got credentials, open, test. Well, you're not helpful. All that work for nothing. Let's go and edit ransomware. So v ransomware, we can do file, and we can say root. We give it this directory. Let's see. Put this in, curl it, and then download the new PDF. It's unnamed. Open, and we see directories. So we can go in this AWS directory, but I also see a .ssh. So I'm going to take a look at .ssh. So let's go ransomware, root, .ssh, put it, post, download the new PDF, open this. We got a IDRSA. So now we can edit ransomware, do ID_RSA. Upload and open this. We should get a SSH key. IDRSA, we do. Go back to our notes, creds, and say root SSH, or we can say SSH keys. Root. There we go. So I guess now is time to test. Root IDRSA. Let's go back, copy this, paste, chmod 600 root sh-i root at 10.10.10.212. And we are root on this box. Awesome. So now we can go take a look at everything we wanted to do after rooting the box. So going over to Obsidian, we can take a look at what we need. The very first thing we left off on was getting AWS creds. So if I cat/.aws credentials, we already saw this, but there's nothing special here. We can also do the one in /root, which we haven't looked at yet, but it's the same thing. So I'm not too interested in this. However, we should take note that we did it. Okay. And then socket. So we want to know what listens on port 35167. So if I do ss-l for listening ports and don't do DNS, T, I think it's TCP, and P is process, we can see what that is. So 35167, that is container D. If I do a grep on 35167, be easier to see, container D, and I think this is related to Docker. And unfortunately, I don't know how to enumerate this. Local host 35167 404, maybe like v2. Let's see, -x post. Let's do container D web API curl example. Let's see, example rest for OpenShift container D. Sure. Let's see. It wants a bunch of stuff in the header. We can try accessing API v1. See if this works. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I have no idea. So let's see. We can just say unknown socket. This is container D. Not really interesting, I think. So the next thing, the magic that I teased you about. So Obsidian has plugins, and I found one plugin I really like. I'm digging through plugins to find more, and then I plan on creating a Obsidian video similar to Tmux. But there is this timelines plugin, and this is going to do something cool. So let's Google timelines plugin Obsidian, and I may not be using this the right way. I'm just using it the way I played with it yesterday. But you can create pretty timelines. So on everything, we just tag. So let's go Obsidian. Let's go to enumeration. At the very bottom, we can put this. And does it show this span? It does, because I think we don't want that. Maybe it's like that. I think it wants to be in HTML. The demo gods have me going right now. Let's see. Leaves that open. And that closed. It doesn't look like HTML. Let's see. Tags. It was hiding that when I previewed it before. Let's see. I'm going to pause the video real quick and play with this. Okay, I got what I was doing wrong. When I copied, a lot of stuff just got escaped. So let's go back to here. All these backslashes, we can escape. And the span tag is left open because it gets closed here. So that all makes sense. Okay, so we have this event. And if we go to magic, I'm just going to do timeline. And then viz, and we don't see anything because something is screwed up. Let's see. Oh, we have to tag it. So if we put a tag of timeline and call it that, now on my magic page, boom, we have the first one. So we may want to edit the time. So let's say this was 1 day. So let's say 2012, 2021. It is 04. Let's say we started it there. And we'll say startup box. And you can edit all these things. Highly recommend watching the video of how to use it. It's not a great one, but I'll create one eventually. So we have this timeline, and the time started was here. And I think we can specify hour too, right? If we specified 10, what happens here? We break it. So again, still playing with this. 420. Weird. Okay. Let's leave that at 0. And then we could do something later like S3, go to the bottom here and put S3 compromised and do 421. Then we go back to a magic tab. We have this. And we'd probably change another event because that's linking to this. So if we edit and say another event would be start a box. Yeah, start a box here. And then down here, we'll say nmap all the things. And then S3, instead of saying S3 compromised here, we can put title S3 compromised, and we can say uploading a reverse shell. And then Roy, if we copy this, go around here and say, let's see, this will be the next day, let's say, DynamoDB dumped credentials to Roy leaked. So you could do something like this, and then you have this timeline, and it's pretty. I bet if we killed the dead image in this, we wouldn't have that. I don't think we need that tag. So if we get rid of that tag everywhere, what happens? This is where if you had a graphics artist, you could make this really cool. But I've been enjoying putting timelines in my notes because as I do test, I like to know how things worked. And when someone says, did you attack this application? I'm like, oh, I did it on that day, and here's generally what happened. It's just a quick way to visualize notes at a high level. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Take care, and I will see you all next week.